Okay, so in my pursuit, this is actually the last deck that was like literally sitting on my space that's to the right. I had a little mini stack. I have many more to do walkthroughs of, but this was the last one that was like out, and like I just need to take this off of that table. Um, so I've had this one for quite a while. This is Tarot of the Witch's Garden by Sasha Graham, and the art is by Natasha. I'm not sure how to say her name. I really don't know how to say that. But the reason that I bought this one as soon as it came out was because I do love Compendium of Witches Oracle with the art by Natasha as well. This is the mass market version. I have the original version and then I have the mass market version. And this deck is sort of a Tools of the Witches and Seers kind of fortune telling style deck, and then it has a compendium of witches and seers and things of that nature. I actually really love this deck, and I use it quite a bit. I did my year ahead reading with this last year, or this year, for this year. And I think the artwork is really gorgeous, and I do love and use this deck. So it's my favorite one. It purely because of that, I knew I wanted to pick up the tarot deck. Now, I have not seen any walkthroughs on it. I haven't looked at anything. Um, I don't even know if I've looked at it, truthfully, since I got it. Maybe skimmed it, but it's been a while. So this is from Llewellyn, and again, it is, well, the other thing is that the deck is by Sasha Graham, and Sasha Graham is the creator of the Dark Wood Tarot. Now, she's a different artist, but I think the guidebook for the Dark Wood Tarot was fantastic. The story, the woman that's going through the entire storyline, through the majors, and all of that. Like, I really loved the way that she kind of organized and told a story through the deck. And so it was kind of like, okay, Sasha Graham, I love Natasha's artwork. So I feel like, okay, based on those two things, I'm at the least going to give a look-see at this, no question. So that was my mindset around why this was a no-brainer for me. Again, this is a Llewellyn deck. Here we have Secrets of the Witch's Garden. Nice, gorgeous. I mean, look at the, I will say Llewellyn's guidebooks, right? You get this huge full-size image from the cards that are absolutely amazing. I don't want to obviously do spoilers, but we obviously have a gorgeous guidebook here, as is to be expected. There, we'll take a look at that in a minute. We do have a linen cardstock. Oh, sorry, my light. I need to get new. My lights have been flickering. We have linen cardstock. You can feel the linen, and look at the backs. Like, these are gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Kind of standard in terms of Llewellyn fronts. They're always a little bit bright for me, like a little bit of a bright or brighter color tones to Llewellyn's decks. Where, sometimes I wish they were just, not that I love colorful decks, but just kind of like, oh, I wish they were just slightly more muted. Although these look like they're going to look gorgeous with them. But this is matte cardstock, I think, versus this. But I know or shouldn't be looking there yet. So yeah, I think these are going to riffle really well. If I were to guess, I guess we will find out. But let's take a look at the guidebook here. Everything is made of magic, leaves and trees, flowers and birds, badgers and foxes and squirrels and people. So it must be all around us, in this garden, in all the places. This is one of my favorite books as a child. I have my old original copy of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. So I appreciate a quote there. Again, absolutely beautiful. Obviously, this is a Seven of Cups. Really beautiful image there. The Secret of the Witch's Garden. We have Sasha Graham here. We have Natasha again from, I'm not sure her last name, from Scotland. Has been shortlisted for multiple awards, and her illustrations have been published in books, magazines, role-playing games, and posters. She has exhibited her work in various galleries, including London House of Illustration and Somerset House. She also did the 300, Sasha Graham also did the 365 tarot spreads, which I quite love as well. Darkwood Tarot. Those are the two that I know from her. Oh, look at that. So sweet. This just came out in 2023. Introduction. The story brought you here. You felt tickles of magic like belly butterflies as long as you've lived. You've created worlds with your spirit guides, conversed with animals, and traded energy with herbs. You traverse the shadows of wild woods where others fear to tread. Your vision with your mind's eye and you vision with your mind's eye and believe in your heart's beating heart's desire strongly enough to make those dreams come true. Most importantly, you've always listened to the special voice inside you that only you can hear. This is why you stand before me now. It is why you've been granted access. Yes to all those things. I really love her writing. I loved it in the Dark Wood, so I'm actually really looking forward to reading through this one as well. Rules of garden magic. Everything is energy. Nature speaks if you listen. Clear space and set boundaries. Show up and do the work. Plant seeds of desire and cultivate when the time is right. So we have that card care and handling, tarot reading essentials, daily practice, talking about the major arcana, talking about the minor arcana. Are they changing any? The Fool through the Chariot, the Witch's spiritual journey, temperance and strength through temperance, the Witch's celestial journey, devil through the world. Then it goes into the minor arcana as day-to-day life moments, the four suits, air, obviously water, fire, and earth. The court cards look to be traditional pages, knights, queens, and kings. Some tarot and astrology, tarot and numerology, goes through her numbers and how, oh dear, what in the heck? I do not know what is happening. Okay, well, this is the next day. I had to I had to solve the light situation and get a new light that bounces. So hopefully this is equally enlightening of the page. But we solved the flashing problems, although I've never had one go out quite that way. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of it even has colors, talks about colors, and actually reading color example. This is interesting. You don't see this always, do you? Colors can be interpreted like a symbol, which is true when they're chosen intentionally. So it looks like that's been paid attention to. Use color for energetic information. The key to interpreting color is personal experience. Does sky blue make you feel dreamy? Does grape purple shower you with regal feeling? Does yellow make you want to sing like a canary? Does your blood pump faster? See, this is a little bit different. Like I again would prefer, like, intentionally color has been used in a way consistently throughout the deck, because what if, there was a lot of yellow in a card and I don't particularly like yellow, but that's not, it wasn't put into the card to denote that all things, yellow have to do with negative feelings, but I used my own feelings about yellow to interpret it like that. I feel like that would go in counterintuitive to the cards themselves. So I do love the idea of reading with color. Obviously, that's something that's done with Marseille style reading, and you can certainly do in decks where you do see, you know, color themes and color patterns that were intended. Like I think about James Eads Lenormand deck, or a couple of, I think there's another one of his decks where he you know, is intentionally using color to mean certain things or to cue us in on certain things, and so we're aware that we can use those, and we might find patterns like that, right, in other decks as well. But I love this idea of paying attention to color. But I think if we just use personal experience, that could get us, that could take us down some interesting pathways that weren't. Boy, I do love that. I mean, come on. That's powerful looking. Anyways, I'm sure we're getting obviously sneak peeks here. So then it starts to go into the main card. So for the major arcana, we have on this one 3 pages, one of those pages being a full color representation of the card itself, which I absolutely love. Now, this sort of borderway is not on the card, which is great. I mean, that's cool, but I'm glad that's not on there. So I'm just going to take a peek. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it seems to be about 3 pages. Let's just peek at a, oh, look at her. Cups. So 1, 2, 3, maybe not as thick on the 1, 2, 3. So I feel like you probably have a little more text on the majors. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Okay, sorry. I know we're sneak peeking, but look at the water ones. All right. So we'll stop. So let's go ahead and read and see what we get with this first one. So let's zoom in. Although, you know, on these books, I almost feel like we can just purely just look at the giant image and get a better, but we want to see what actually shows up on the card. I do like, again, this linen texture here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I do quite like that. Okay, so so we have Zero the Fool, which we have the title down here, doesn't get in the way, doesn't chop off anything. It's a nice little title. And then it has sort of like a main keyword, I would suppose, that's beginning, mastery. Yep, it's like a main keyword. And association, this one is to air, but some are to a astrological association. Fresh as sparkling morning dew, once upon a time came you. Never mind, the steps are steep. Trust your faith, take a leap. So like a little poetic thing. And then I'm going to read you what we have here. The witch's journey begins with the arrival of a mysterious stranger. Her name is the Fool. The Fool's appearance marks a fresh start. It's a new chapter in an unfolding story. 0 is her number. The Fool reflects the soul's pure potential. The Fool is beginning and end. She is all infinite possibility. The entire tarot deck exists inside of her. The Fool is the seed of the tarot deck. The secret of the Fool card is trusting in what unfolds in every moment. Her face tips up towards the sunlight. She walks without care in the world through the path, though the path leads to a jagged precipice. Her path regenerates as her feet touches the ground. So that's interesting, right? I quite like that. We often say, right, with the Fool card, she's just going to step off of here and just trust that something is going to catch her down there, or she's going to start to fly, or we just trust the world. But in this case, look at that path here. And she's just trusting that when she takes her next step, there's going to be another piece of the land and another piece of land. And I've never really thought about it that way, and I absolutely love that. Her path regenerates as her feet touches the ground. There is no fear, anticipation, or danger. Trust in the journey. The Fool is not weighted by past incarnations. She carries only what she needs. The garden hoe, so she's got a garden hoe, foreshadows work. The leather sack swinging from the hoe contains past experience. A discarded book marks lessons learned that are left for another traveler to discover. An alchemist white rose decorates the cover of the book that she holds. I thought I saw a rose down here too, but right here. The white rose represents the union of opposites giving rise to new evolution. The symbol of elemental air is embroidered on her chest. Manifestation is seen in her boots and blossoming flowers. A gleeful dog leaps beside her to represent joyful animal communication and companionship. No one walks alone. The Fool indicates a fresh new adventure. And then it has some upward keywords: new beginning, flowering potential, freedom and travel, innocence and optimism, odd and silly behavior, outlander, fresh chapter. Reversed: blindness, ignorance, childish, reckless, indiscreet, irresponsible. To write the reversal, ask, how can I start over? I like that. Is that each like that? Let's see. Yep. So each of the majors, let me look at the minors. Each, yeah, all of them have a little section here on how to write the reversal. So if this energy is coming up in shadow or in a negative space, or with actual reversals, if you use them, how could you write that reversal and turn that energy upright? I like that agency that is embodied there. So some things that I like about this is that I like that it's very thorough in describing what we are seeing. I really like that we have tie-ins to the image that is there and why those things are there. It really lets us know that, again, the image was created intentionally and the bits and the pieces all are there for a reason, and what those are, so that we can understand what those might be there. There does seem to be, I don't know if you see this. Let me look. Oh yeah, look it. There is a little like fairy behind her, or I guess maybe a guardian angel, but I would say she looks more like a fairy, which I don't think is mentioned in here. So there's still things that you can find, which is really cool. Faces sunlight, her path regenerates, whole leather sack, da 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 da, well no da. Symbol of elemental air, which I like that there's sort of an air fairy there. So I like that. I wonder if we're going to see little hidden things like that in others of the cards. So that is the Fool. It's the beginning of the witch's journey. Now here we have the Magician, which is, again, absolutely gorgeous. I love her artwork. So it's going to be a lot of, well, that's really a beautiful image. Now this is interesting because this speaks of magician, and instead of describing this from a perspective of we're seeing this Fool here that is walking along, and she's describing it from I. So see here, I conjured the witch's garden from the abandoned shell of a battered farmhouse on a dusty, dry land. Through care, attention, and enchantment, I have transformed it. The garden is open to curious hearts, so on and so forth, right? My waist is cinched with a snake's belt, red like, so still going in and describing what we're seeing here, but this is like, we're speaking from the position of the magician, right? So, and then when we go to the high priestess, I mean, look at her. Oh, love her. Okay. Now it's like you, and it's from a different perspective. So I think that that's going to be really interesting. Again, I really liked her guidebook in the wild, I would say the wild forest, but the one I showed you earlier. So I'm very interested to read this. So again, here we have the high priestess, and we have a female magician, sorry. And this is noted as mastery. Now, it looks like I did see that there was We do have a male emperor here, but there are definitely so far, you know, this wouldn't typically be a male, and we certainly have a female here. Again, the keyword here is for mastery, and we can see she has a symbol of Mercury, where we had the symbol of air on her chest there. Um, Here we have the High Priestess, and her keyword is introspection. And of course, it's with the moon. She has the typical moon. Look at how gorgeous that is. So you can definitely have the feeling of some of the Companion of Witches women that we see there. So we have here's her little quote, answers bubble, waters flow back inside her lunar glow. Book of life, quiet night, soul's alignment feels just right. Like you could use those little sayings and things, couldn't you? The high priestess gazes inward. She is the essence of the spirit, but also the stirring of leaves, wisdom of willows, and formlessness of water. She is the authenticity of the soul. The high priestess, as a revealed psyche, contains all wisdom therein. She is the hush of night and the calm whispers of intuition. Oh, I love that. And again, it does go into talking about her pearls, or her gentle pearl garment. So it does speak about all that we see, even to her toe touching the water. So it's definitely referencing the image that we have here, which again, absolutely love. I love this background here. Instead of like, you know, a tapestry, we have the willow trees and the sort of tapestry of branches, weeping willow branches behind it, which is quite beautiful. I like this Empress here. So this is for creativity. This is associated with Venus. It looks to be, we have Venus maybe sewn on the cover of the pillowcase there. What I like about this is that she does have the feeling of, say, the Rider-Waite-Smith, Empress, or even some of the more modern Empresses where they are kind of in nature. It's kind of leaning towards Mother Nature a little bit, but she also looks very regal. And so she does look like an actual ruler, which I really prefer with my Empresses, as like powerful rulers, and she feels like that even as it leans into the abundance and she's pregnant and those types of things. We still have that sense where she does seem as if she is quite powerful in her own right. I love the color red here on her outfit as well. So that's quite beautiful. And then I love this emperor. I love that we have the eagle here. We have the ram here as well. Set the boundary, lay the land, gather effort, raise your hand. Ability thrives when set in stone. Feel your mastery, flesh and bone. Love it, love it, love it. Very King Arthur-y feeling. Powerful. I love her. Now, does she not look like, oh, I wonder if she's like similar. I think it's different clothes though. She reminds me of one of my favorite of the companion. I like a lot of the Companion of Witches, but sorry, we're just gonna, you know, play around here. I love her so much. Anyways, let me find, I don't think I love her so much. One of my favorite cards. Sorry. Hecate, the Crossroads, amazing. Anyways, I have a walkthrough of this deck, but she reminds me of, I love her. I love so many. It's her. She reminds me of like a less woodsy version of her, but no. Nope, she's her own person, but I love her face. Okay, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. Let me pop this. I'm sure that won't be the last time, but I'll try not to. I just love the faces that she does on her people. So here we have the Hierophant. Of course, again, we have what's traditionally a male But it is very Rider-Waite-Smith, like in the way that the figure is holding the hand and giving the blessing. Definitely feels more like a teacher than obviously a pope or something like that. But we do have sort of the cue-ins for people who read Rider-Waite-Smith are certainly there. Use the key, unlock the door, solve a mystery, uncover more. A well-lived life unravels time, and lessons hide inside the rhyme. I love this. Again, talks through it all, key hanging, all the different things. And it keeps the traditional meaning of the, or name of the Hierophant, teacher and student, mentorship, aid and kindness, tradition and rituals, that we would see. That's quite beautiful. Here we have the lovers associated with Gemini. We have the tree, a very garden of, for a witches, right? It's a very Garden of Eden-y feel with the apple up above. Of course, this can also be very pagan and going out to um, the Lord and the Lady, going out into the field as well, right? So you could definitely read this both way, but it definitely has, for me, a nod into the Garden of Eden with that dangling fruit there, which always kind of surprises me when, you know, like it's witch decks or pagan decks. It's like, okay, do we even have to have that reference there? But it, you know, again, I would probably read it more as the, yeah, because she even says a juicy rosy red apple is bitten. Um, so it definitely has to me a nod to that, which again always surprises me. But this does not in any way take you away from, you know, the dance of the Lord and the Lady either. Very traditional chariot. Not my favorite because I'm not a huge fan of these like squared off chariots, but I will say her horses definitely look like they're pulling something. We have like Pan there in the background and quite a lot of abundance. Like we definitely have like this little scenario pagan energy like being pulled into the a very traditional rendition of this. So that is that's an interesting combination. I like all of this except for maybe that just squared off structure there. This is, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, we're going Rider-Waite-Smith on the chariot, but I do like the very active horses, and the certainly the abundance. See what she says about this. A pair of horses. The secret of the chariot card is initiative. Let's see, adaptability. I don't think it mentions, yeah, the carriage overflows with summer's bounty. It is bringing forth personal talents and gifts to the world. A rustic fertility spirit hitches a ride. Because you're kind of going from this where you can think, you know, the summer ripeness and the turning of the wheel of the year. And now we've got that sort of, energy flowing from the 6 into the 7. So I like that flow over, even though it's in the midst of what initially feels like a very traditional version of the card. I love this strength card. It's so sweet. I love the bear, you know, again, that's kind of ties closely to me. I like her hiking boots. Because what I like about this versus other strength cards is very often, right there, you have this very, very civilized self, and then you have this very, very primal energy of like the lion or whatever it is. But in this one, you actually do feel like they are connected and that she has taken on and embodied and gone out into nature and is out experiencing the wild, right, as well. So we do have this sense of her actually being unified with herself and her instinctual, or her intellectual self and her instinctual self are really all, she is in harmony and unity with that. So I actually quite like that. Look at the Hermit. That is gorgeous. Again, we have another traditional male figure that is in the witches. You know, it's more like, say, the Companion of Witches, where we have mostly female characters. So far, we just have the Emperor, which I'm glad was left that way. And we have what appears to be a male in the Lover's card as well. But many of the cards that are traditionally male are female. And, you know, again, I prefer those things to stay traditional, even though I'm not 100, you know, I'm not opposed to it. I prefer the traditional balance, especially in the sets. But I can understand why people choose not to do that. And that may be for some people, they may be like, well, okay, I would like to see a man in the Hermit card. You know, that might be something to pay attention to, that a lot of those do seem to be switched. But it is beautiful. I love this hermit. New moon tethers dark of night, truth revealed in lantern light. Stillness roams as instincts flow. Move within, find what you know. Leaving the house and heading outward here with the hermit. Very strong justice. I actually really like this. Very different, right? It's still abundance. We can see that overflowing of abundance that has been, you know, kind of flowing through the majors. You can really feel that here. Not This is justice that isn't setting off and away from life. I quite like her. She reminds me of like a monk in D&D, although they wouldn't have a sword, but she visually looks like she'd be like a monk in D&D, and I quite like her. Um, Two wooden pillars frame justice as the middle pillar on the mystical tree of life. Okay, okay. Justice's figure integrates expansion and contraction as a synthesis of oppositional polarities. Her baskets are full and balanced. Justice sword is rooted to the ground as a reminder to trust the inner compass of truth. I like that. It's a very strong, colorful justice. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune. I am generally not the fan of Wheel of Fortunes, but I quite like this. I like the boy and the owl. I like the sylph that we have there. It looks like we have like a sleeping cat down here. We have sort of a pan or I'm totally blanking. Oh my goodness, that's going to drive me bonkers. A child, a fairy, snoozing feline, and a fawn. Thank you, fawn. I quite like that. It's about fluidity and movement, and we have the snake there as well. I quite like that. For a very storybook feeling Wheel of Fortune, it goes quite well. Here we have the hanged woman instead of the hanged man. She's awesome. I love the use of willows. And what's interesting is that is it not even a willow tree? I don't think so. I think that's like Spanish moss. Moss. Yes, Spanish moss. Is she? It is a wisdom, the wisdom of the willow. So it's interesting, right? Connection between the high priestess and then the hanged woman. Like, what position are you willing to put yourself in to gain that knowledge? So I like the willow tree being between those two cards. I think that's quite interesting. And she is very powerful looking. I love that. This is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. Look at the little girl giving. We're going to read this. Transformation associated with Scorpio. Decay and death, skull and bone. Old order is overthrown. Fear not, there is no need to mourn. Rise anew to be reborn. The bony fingers of chilly air tickle your neck and stroke your cheek. Leaves release a satisfying crunch underfoot as you enter a graveyard. A woman drops before a headstone. Her tormented cries slice the air like a blade. You have entered the arcana of death. Death marks a transition of energy from one form to the next. On its surface, the archetype echoes cycles of life, especially endings. A girl of about 6 offers death a baby pumpkin. She has not yet been taught to fear what is natural. Death on an esoteric level marks the initiatory quality of witchcraft. The witch seizes her power and explores the world through a new pair of eyes. She dives through the skein of reality. She may undertake shamanic practice, work shadow magic, and embark in herbal communication, astral travel, etc., but her old self is discarded. Death's secret is that death is not the opposite of life. Death is the energy of transmutation, making all life possible. Very powerful. That is a gorgeous Death card showing both sides. That's just gorgeous. I love that. Here we have Temperance. That's, to me, is a fairly traditional, it's beautiful. I like the color palette for it. But a fairly traditional Temperance card there, and the mixing of the energies. Don't get a strong like push and pull energy. It's a little bit pastel, I guess, for Temperance, but it's quite beautiful. I'll be interested to see this compared to the Star card. Here we have the Devil. Now, in all fairness, the Devil's a woman as well, because most of these have changed. Again, other than those two, we have female witches. So this is definitely more of that. So it's good that I would not have liked to have very little men and then just stick a man in the Devil position. Anger, brimstone, fire, hate, jealousy's tempts, skip the bait. Devil's seductions are illusions set, shatter to beat the faulty bet. The secret of the Devil card is ego. The angrier the lovers are, the stronger the devil grows. And goes on, kind of a pretty typical Rider-Waite-Smith devil. We have the devil, we have the chained. The key to this is that you can choose to take the chains off and take your power back. I don't have any issue with it. It's pretty typical. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty typical. This is adorable. This is probably the cutest. This may be, other than maybe Prisma Visions, this may be the cutest tower ever because it's more of a fairy tale. And we have the little badgers at the bottom that are going to catch them at the bottom. So, I mean, it's still very much a tower card with the lightning and the burning house, but it definitely has a very fairy tale vibe, which really a lot of the cards, they very powerful, but the color palette and the some of the energy of this has got a very fairy tale-ish feel to it, that is beautiful. This is gorgeous. That is a gorgeous star card. Again, this is beautiful. I do feel like it lacks slightly maybe in energy, whereas that to me, that is stunning. And she is definitely going to trust herself to navigate her way forward. That is an absolutely beautiful star card. I love that. Love it. And I love this moon card. I turned the page on the book and saw it. I'm like, oh, this is gorgeous. Again, very powerful. You have the sort of calling down the moon energy. I like the houses in the background. I saw them in the background. Well, you see it in the background even of the Temperance card, which I kind of like this. And even the the tree house, because there is a sense that and even like I said with Justice, you have the sense that these things aren't so far removed, right? These aren't in some faraway land in which, the gods and the goddesses reign. There is the sense of that witch just walking out into a pond nearby to their house, right? That magics happen close at home as well as in the middle of, the magical forest. So I do like I like that tie-ins with the houses nearby. A witch moves up and out of the water towards a distant mountain while channeling the moon's lunar glow. I like that. Bewitched moonlight, wolves howl and bark, creeping shadows yawning dark, bringing forth new stories told. Embrace the unknown, let paths unfold. Ooh, I like so this keyword for the moon is emergence, and to write the reversal, ask what wants to emerge through me. That's an interesting question to ask on how, if this were to come up in reversed or in a position of reversal or shadow energy. That's an interesting question to ask. Not my favorite. You know how I feel about partially, at least there's no six-pack babies on the sun. I do like that the sun is just shining bright on the upper portion of the page. there. I'm a big proponent of like really strong sun cards because I learned it with Lou riding on the back of a horse, and that kind of strength and mastery of self is the sun for me. And this doesn't for me. It just speaks to happiness and sun-filled days, but it doesn't speak to mastery of self that is strong for me in the sun card. Again, it's not horrible in any means, but it's definitely not my favorite of when we think about like even the power of the moon. This doesn't seem as powerful, but when we look at cards like this that are so strong, and the sun is so strong, I would have liked, you know, something a little more there, but that's just personal preference, and certainly isn't going to ruin it. And then we have the Judgment card. I do like this angel here. This is associated with fire. Wake up, rise, new days begin. Heed the call and bury your skin. Embrace the fullness, rejecting lack. No turning around, no going back. I at least like that the people are not like blue skinned. And again, you have the house on the outside. So I think that that's interesting here as well, because we have that sense that, again, death and judgment and rebirth and all of those things takes place close to home, right? And so that's interesting. It does feel a little bit with the people, a little bit more like, say, like the Ten of Cups or something like that. But it's also part of life, this rebirth and this calling up to a new, are you going to listen to the call, applies to everybody in different ages, and we even have animals in here. And then here we have the World card, which is really gorgeous. I actually like this. We have a reflection back to the wheel, but the world is like a major turning of the wheel. So we still have the boy, we have the fairy, we have the cat who's now awake and dancing, right? They're much more engaged in what's happening here, which is interesting. So you don't often see tie-ins, I don't think, between the world wheel and the world, and it's the major, right, completion of the cycle turning. So I like that connection and that tie into that card, to those cards. Ooh, I like the hand here and the snake. Again, we have the house here kind of grounding us that while we see magic afoot, it can take place right outside your door. I do like that overarching theme here. I'm going to keep the aces out. Love the Two of Wands. Really cool, slightly creepy vibe. Magic-y, like we're in the cave with the torches, I think is really gorgeous. The key word that she has here is insight. Three of Wands. This is actually quite beautiful and powerful because, again, not a big fan of the just waiting for your ships to come in, where this feels like she is feeding the energy of the Three of Wands to keep it growing, which is how I really like to see Three of Wands. So I quite like that. Here we have the Four of Wands and having the celebration, pretty typical, with a little bit with a masquerade and seeming like we do have maybe a dryad or a fey creature of some kind, because that doesn't it look like it is necessarily fake, although I think that's her hair. But again, it's pretty typical Four of Wands. Five of Wands, a competition here over resources with the birds is cute. Six of Wands, pretty typical. Seven of Wands, very powerful because she's not really like directly facing and holding back the wand. It's like she's gonna call down, or she's even pulling fire from the what's pushing against her, as she is going to utilize that power for herself. So it's more of a combining energy than it is a, you know, holding space. So now we have this growing. This goes a little bit more with, you know, my 4+3 and 7, where you kind of get this strong foundation and that creates a new growth of the 3. This looks like that. And I don't think I've ever really seen a 7 of Wands that looks like that new growth here versus the holding her own against the other ones that you typically see in a Rider-Waite-Smith. So it's interesting because some of these that we've seen so far in the minors has very much you can see the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning, but then there are some ways in which it's kind of going off in its own direction. That's kind of cool to see. That's an amazing Eight of Wands. I love this. Again, a focused intensity, a mastery of fire. This is very much how I would read it. Absolutely love this Eight of Wands versus like the swiftness. And we do have a keyword here of speed, but for me, this is like she is focusing, harnessing, mastering fire, and I absolutely love it. Here we have the Nine of Wands holding her own. Pretty cool image. Love it. Ten of Wands is really cool here. She is holding, right, a lot of responsibility there, right? But she is got everything that she needs. She's got her baby. She has gained experiences. She's got a lots of responsibility to hold, but she's strong here. She's moving out of the Ten of Wands very strongly, which I quite love. Here we okay. Is it going to go like this? So we're not going to go to the 8, 9, or did I miss something up, or am I missing some? The quartz must all be at the end. Yes, they are. Okay. All right. So it's going to go do the 1 through 10s and then go into the quartz. Love the ace. The aces are really gorgeous. Absolutely love the aces. So here we have the Two of Cups. Again, relatively standard Two of Cups, the two energies, masculine and feminine, active, receptive, coming together, the drawing together of differing energies there. I love the Three of Cups, love the autonomal. When she goes into these autonomal, is that the correct word for it? But autumn colored vibes, which we're heading into, and is my birth energy. She just does these kind of that color palette. The artist is just amazing at that color palette. It just pops. Even what we saw in the death card, like it just is gorgeous. And that's really beautiful. We have 3 very young women who are celebrating the autumn and celebrating their power rising, I suppose. Here we have the Four of Cups with the little fairies. I do like the inclusion of fairies. I'm a big fairy fan. These are little pixie type creatures, and here we have the Four of Cups. Now she doesn't look bored at all. There's like this stable energy, and this one looks like there's coming to cheer her up and kind of work together to stabilize the emotions, but a relatively, again, standard Rider-Waite-Smith deck. That is beautiful. Again, I like the house in the background. All of this is taking place. Like I can feel like all of this is taking place not very far from home. These all exist nearby. I know I've said it a billion times, but I do like that. And that's just beautiful. Here we have some more fairies with the Six of Cups and nostalgia. Beautiful Seven of Cups. I saw this, I guess, in the book or something, but that is a stunning Seven of Cups. Absolutely love it. Looks like an apothecary that you have there. Eight of Cups, love it. Going off on the journey. Cups aren't turned over. You know, again, pretty typical Eight of Cups, but I love the image. Love this Nine of Cups and the mermaid coming out of here very powerfully. She's going to grant your wish. Just make sure she doesn't take something in return. And then we have the Ten of Cups. Again, that sort of happily ever after. Very typical Rider-Waite-Smith. Ten of Cups. Everything is as it should be. There that we see. Quite beautiful. I love they're traditional, but beautiful. I really quite like the aces. Love the Two of Swords. Beautiful. I love the wall at her back as well. Like she's got to find a way forward because she's got a wall at her back. Typical, Three of Swords, loss, heartbreaks, not how I see the Three of Swords. You all know it. You're all going to throw tomatoes at me. She's got to stand up and learn from these experiences. Three of just the number of growth. Swords are the growth of the mind. She's going to learn from this experience. It's not how I read it. It's not my favorite. It's a little very clearly a denoting the Rider-Waite-Smith Three of Swords, but I can talk my way out of that. Four of Swords, quite beautiful. Just take a breath, take a breather. You're going to have to go back out and fight, but let's just take a rest for a moment. Stable mental space. Five of Swords, at what cost? Very interesting. I mean, you could just definitely tell a story from this, couldn't you? So she's going to win, but at what cost is she going to win? We've got five, a shakeup in the mental realm, things not really going as they maybe should be going here. Beautiful. I like that the sword is actually like it's the magic sword. It's like the Lady of Shalott or the Lady of the Lake has given her the sword, and that's what's actually. Oh, we do have the cool, more like crossing the river Styx aid here, but it's being guided by the magic sword. Again, very storybook um, uh, feels to them that I quite love. This definitely has the vibe, both with the bright color palette, the fairies, the things that we're seeing, that we definitely have this feeling like we're in a storybook that I think works quite well. Seven of Swords, we don't know why she's stealing it. She might need to in order to help people to survive the battle of the next day. So we always have to dig a little deeper. She's also listening to the people, and maybe she's getting some information here. Because the Seven of Swords for me is always dig deeper and make sure you have the whole picture, not just the snapshot. Here we have a powerful Eight of Swords. She literally, we know she can get out of this predicament because she is levitating, right? So there's definitely no question that she's not bound here. Any binding that takes place is just in her own mind, and she simply needs to access her power. Nine of Swords. I quite like this kind of in the, almost kind of has a Lost Girls kind of feel to it. Um, Struggling. I like this birds and flocking over here. And so definitely a discordant mind, but then the powerful yellows and things show the Nine of Swords can be a powerful tool to utilize, but it can also be overwhelming, right? We can have all kinds of plans and new horizons, but we can also have our fears and things get exaggerated as well. Oh, those are bees. Those are bees that are coming down. Yeah. So it goes either way, and that works fine. Again, not my favorite Ten of Swords. We literally have now blood on the ground, although it's starting to grow anew. I like that. It's a typical Rider-Waite-Smith. The Ten of Swords for me is simply not somebody dead on the ground. It's the culmination of the suit of the mind. But all that she has learned, all that she experienced is now kind of bleeding out into this new growth that's going to occur here on the poppy field. So again, not my favorite just because of the way that I read, but it's a beautiful dead person laying on the ground. I mean, there's not much else I can say. I love, and it looks like, no, there's the house here. We don't see it here. There's the house here. And is it the same house? It almost seems like it is. So this may all be taken, like this would actually be in the pond that we see here. So I'm interested to read the whole story to see if, like the Dark Wood Tarot, this is all taking place outside of this house in this one lifetime, which is kind of cool. So I do really like the aces. Here we have the Two of Pentacles, absolutely adorable. I love her clothing too. She does really amazing with, look at all the fae and the little I don't know what that little creature is, but he's adorable. And I just love her gloves and her apron, like she's doing the work. He's reading the plan, she's doing the work, working together. But I just love the artist's clothing. Look at that Four of Pentacles. That's really powerful. He's turned to stone holding on to his energy. But I like this far better than the typical Rider-Waite-Smith. This speaks to me of solidity, solid Four of Pentacles is energy. It's not time to waste our resources. We need to stay strong with our resources. We're going to need them. I know that's not what it means and why they chose that image, but that's how I would go at it. Beautiful Five of Pentacles. Again, one of my favorite Rider-Waite-Smith cards is the Five of Pentacles. I just love the different ways it's depicted, and this is just as beautiful. Here we have the Six of Pentacles. Everybody's working together. A little bit more of the, I'm the richer woman, I'm going to give to the poor. I read Six of Pentacles more as shared energy, right? She may be giving to him, but he's going to give back to her in another way. The same thing with the animals in the world around. We all have to be working together, push and pull. Here, again, much more of the traditional, but you can work with that. Here we have the Seven of Pentacles, having patience and waiting for things to grow. Interesting that we have the tarot cards on a Seven of Pentacles. I'm just going to see what it says about it. Oh, see, look, I do need to read this whole book because look at this talks about the three figures and the three stages. We have a crone, we have the kind of mother energy, and then we have the child energy there as well. So I'm definitely going to sit down and read her book because, again, I quite liked her other one. Let me go to the Seven of Pentacles because I quite like this. Halloween witch stops to consider her future. Pumpkins reveal the manifestation of her hope and dreams. She has claimed early success through a clever and precise magic. Her story is not over. There's more to come. So she is, the Seven of Pentacles appears when results manifest quickly. The secret of this card is when results are quick, it is a sign that you're in a line. That's interesting because I think of the Seven of Pentacles as the patience card, not as anything quick. So for me, she would more be pondering, okay, let's wait a little bit. It's not quite time to pull that yet. We've got to, let everything get fully stabilized and grow before we are going to harvest it quite yet. So for me, it's more patience than quickness. But there's nothing in the card that changes the way I would do that. Here we have the Eight of Pentacles with the woman who has mastered her art form and what she is creating. Beautiful Nine of Pentacles. I love the grapes. I love the color of her outfit and the bird of prey. I do love the white dresses that we often see in Rider-Waite-Smith inspired Nine of Pentacles, but this feels very much, she has the time, she has the resources to really put into what is important to her. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles, the different generations and the legacy effect that we think of with the Ten of Pentacles. Love this page. Okay, now we're getting it. Okay, so it had it lined out with the majors and then the 1 through 10s. The number cards, sorry, apparently just we're going to try shuffling it. And that shuffled quite well. Not surprising given the linen cardstock. So now we're going to go into the court cards here. The Page of Fire. I do love the animal here, like the kitsune here, or firefox almost like feel there. We have the Knight of Wands, again, very knight feeling, very wands feeling, definitely fiery. The color tone is all holding. Beautiful queen of, I like the fire in her hand. I like the tattoos. We see the typical cat and the sunflower here. So again, traditional touch-ins, but beautifully done. And then the powerful King of Wands with the horns and having mastered and harnessed fire into its created sort of a structure to hold the fire. So we have 3 females and just the male in the king in this set, but they're quite beautiful. I love this Page of Cups. Definitely looks very, so we have more like a fire sylph. Now we have a water. We have the very knightly, but literally like a mer creature with the ears here. I love the water horse. Really gorgeous. Love that. Beautiful Queen of Cups. Again, these are all mer creatures, which I love. And then the very Poseidon-like King of Cups. Again, structured um, in that suit of water versus the movement in the page. Again, we have a fairy creature. I love her. She reminds me of somebody in that. There's a show where it's kind of a steampunky fairy vibe, and it feels very much like that show. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I love her. And we have, again, very movement oriented. She's on a Pegasus in flight. The blue tones carry into the powerful Queen of Swords. And then the King of Swords, much more structured. I love the white owl there. So very color coordinated in the elements. And the suits and the cast, we very much have air and water and fire. And then the little gorgeous, love the books back here. Page, the knight with a bison and the solid kind of energy here with the knight. Beautiful Queen of Pentacles. Now that looks like a Mother Earth. Kind of reminds me of the green lady that we have in the tarot, the Tarot of the Hidden Realms. She's totally green in that one, but it's got that kind of vibe to it. And more of like a pan for the King of Pentacles. So again, very earthy, very tied to the Fae. The knight, as we see them typically, all female, but that very solid, moving, slow moving energy versus the others that we saw. So yeah, I quite like the quartz. I think they're very much in their elements visually, and I quite like there's a lot of Fae energy in this deck. Again, it feels slightly like fairy tale Fae, but definitely shows that aspect of magic or of the witch that is very much in tune with nature and with the other realms as well. So it's interesting. I really like this more than I wasn't sure, because I knew, that was Llewellyn. I knew it was going to be sort of brightly toned. I knew it was likely going to be Rider-Waite-Smith, heavily Rider-Waite-Smith based. These are just things that tend to come out of these these sets that are so gorgeously done by Llewellyn, but they do tend to be very jewel toned, and very, very Rider-Waite-Smith based. There are some deviations here that are interesting. I like the cardstock. Very easy to riffle shuffle. It's got a nice swish, swish, swish. I would definitely color the sides like this color green on the side, or even the lighter green, just to pull that together. I would definitely do that. So in a sense, it feels a little lighter. Like there are very, very powerful cards, but there is the sweetness. It's like a storybook sweetness that I do think comes in a lot of again, these Llewellyn deck sets. Whether it's, I'm trying to think of some of the names, but I have a few of them. That tend to be kind of storybook feeling, and sometimes it really works, and then sometimes it just feels like it's a little bit too sweet and there's no like umph behind it. This does have a lot of powerful looking cards and a lot of sweet cards, so it does feel like a storybook realm that is just outside of home. It's just north. I mean, it's gorgeous, right? The color palette is stunning. So So I don't know. I'm going to give it a try and use it. I love a lot of these decks aesthetically. I think they're really gorgeous, but then at the same time, sometimes I just never pull from them because they feel like they're lacking a little bit in shadow. Even while there are cards that have some, you know, depth and things to them, sometimes they just feel like they're just so sweet. That I'm it's not believable sometimes that there's any real sorrow in the world. And I think about this, and I don't want to missay the names, but just these they all have the same sort of setup here. It's the Llewellyn decks. I think Llewellyn tarot decks tend to lean towards, and I just mixed all of the cards, which I don't normally do, but I'm just going to pull, see what, like pulling one of the cards. Like she seems like she would be a little bit, this is my ancestral guardian. Like she seems like she would be slightly irritated with this world. You know what I mean? Because there, it's like you're not fully convinced, or I'm not fully convinced that anything really bad ever happens here. Because this is, again, this is a tower card, and I love this tower card, but it does, you know, this is it feels like a fairy tale story, and these animals are going to catch them, and everything is going to be good. In the end, somebody's going to win out over the wicked witch. Right? She's powerful. There are powerful cards. I love this card. So it's not that I don't love the card or even the imagery here. It's that I'm just not entirely convinced that, you know, anything really bad is going to happen here that we have to deal with. That's the caveat that I have sometimes with these decks. Even when I love the images and I love the artist here, which I love the artist here, that's the dimension that for me is sometimes missing, is that they're so beautiful, but to the degree in which I'm not convinced that really bad things happen in this world. And real bad things do happen, right, in the world. It doesn't mean I have to have a deck. I don't, it's the best way I can explain it. And I don't know that that's necessary. I have a lot of decks that I like and I use it. You don't necessarily have to see all of that, but that's kind of sometimes what I run into. So I think it's beautiful. I hope that I will pull from it. I often don't find myself, I find myself enjoying them and collecting them, but I don't often find myself using them. And I love this artist's work so much that I do, and it does feel very fall. I will say at the time of making this, it is September 27th. And so we're definitely in my area of the world heading into fall, and it feels very fall color themed. So I may end up pulling from it more than I think. But what do you think? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying about it? I don't think it's necessarily a negative, and I think it is stunning. A color palette. So I am interested to see if it's just something that I collect and I love the artwork with, or if I actually feel the call to pull it out and give it, you know, put it on the table. Because I'm not opposed to, you know, having decks that are just beautiful for the sake of being beautiful, but just don't end up being ones that I, for whatever reason, pull from when I'm reading for clients. That's fine. Like I have a lot of decks like that. And I'll just be interested whether this transcends that or not for me personally. So I hope that this has helped you to at least see all the cards. I have enjoyed the walk through tarot with this artist, and so I hope that you have as well. And we'll see where it goes by the end. We have a couple months till the end of the year when I do my roundups and see if it ends up on the table or not. But I'm still glad I bought it. Again, I love this artist. I don't feel like it will supersede the Compendium of Witches. Like, she just looks like she's gonna kick your butt. I don't really feel like anybody in here is gonna kick my butt. Like, she's gonna kick my butt. She's gonna kick. But then there's lots of sweet energy. She's gonna kick your butt. There are still, so she's like scary powerful looking. And then there are some, you know, because obviously there's different energies on each one. So not, I mean, she's going to kick your butt. She's sweet, right? She's pretty sweet, but she's going to take you to, she's deceptively sweet looking. We're going to go on a journey and I'm going to have my butt kicked, right? So these all like feel powerful, even the ones that are like, I don't know, she's going to kick your butt, right? Like she looks sweet, but she's going to drag you into the ocean. Like there's just something, and maybe because I've used these a long time, but these feel like, okay, there's some powerful messages to come through. I don't 100% get the same vibe from this, even though it's the same artist, right? And it's gorgeous. I don't get that same, like, you're going to take me somewhere and really give me a message, and there's like some umph and some depth and some cave systems behind it. I'm not 100% convinced with that. That's the best way I can put it, even though I may change my mind as I actually use it, because that does sometimes happen. So that's just my initial thoughts. I hope that this has been interesting, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day.